Hello, and welcome back to one of the last few shows on Let's Talk Chicago Bears. Even though not too many people really want to talk about them anymore. And it's showing in the viewership, but that's okay. I don't care. Yes, we're going to talk about the Bears. I'm not going to go over a lot of the stats that I've gone through every week because we know. But the first thing I do want to talk about is what happened on Monday night to that Buffalo Bills player, Hamlin. I was watching that game. And it was so disturbing to watch and hear that they were giving somebody CPR on the field. I mean, I have been just glued to this story all week. I do a podcast with my buddy. You know, I mention it many times. We do them on. We do them on Wednesdays. We do a live podcast, and we didn't even do it Wednesday because I talked to him and he agreed. At that point, we had no real good positive news at that point. Until yesterday, and my heart was not in it. I had such a heavy heart all week, feeling so bad for this young man. His life hadn't even begun. He was 24 years old, and this happened to him. And as we all heard, if you follow football, he is doing so much better. Thank the Lord for that. He had the breathing tube removed late last night. He's talking, he's writing, he's moving. He's still in critical condition. He's got, his body took quite a jolt. And he's got a long road ahead of him, but he's going to make it. And that is just the best news we could hear all week, right? I mean, man, thank God he is in great health and young. That helped save his life. And after watching, yesterday they had a news conference where the doctors were talking. And they were answering questions. And basically they said if it wasn't for the Buffalo Bills medical staff and without them, he might not be in the position he is. They basically saved his life. And then I learned something I did not know that I did not realize. I knew they have neurological doctors that are separate from the team now because of the concussion thing, but I didn't realize they had heart doctors on the sidelines and breathing doctors. And because those people were there, and within a minute that young man was having major medical treatment, and that saved his life. The doctor said yesterday if it wasn't for all of them on the field, we wouldn't be talking this positively. And then it was funny because when he did start to wake up, and he couldn't, he still the tube in, the ventilator was on him, so he wrote, "Who won the game?" And one of the doctors said, "Young man, you won because you're alive." So, and that's true. And that gives me chills now, So God bless him, and here's to a speedy recovery. And now everybody can breathe a sigh of relief and watch football this weekend and moving forward without feeling heavy-hearted, guilty, whatever. So I'm just so happy to hear that because, I just love football. And when you see something like that, in all my years, I've never, ever seen anything like that. Now, one time in the history of football, a player did die on the field, and I believe it was in 1971, and I think it was the Detroit Bears game. I forgot to look it up, but I'm almost sure. Somebody will have to look that up. But somebody did die back in the 70s, early 70s. So grateful that he's okay. God bless, right? So let's move on. Okay, so, and then the other thing I wanted to do is give a shout out to Mrs. McCaskey, Virginia McCaskey. She is one awesome broad, is she not? She's 100 years old. She turned 100 yesterday. God bless her. And I'm like, listen, Bears, this woman ain't going to live a lot longer. You got to win it all in 2023. Let's go. So, and I hope she stays healthy, and happy birthday, Mrs. McCaskey. There's a really cool documentary that was put out a couple years ago, and it's about 4 women that own football teams, and it's, I forget what it's called. It's something Sundays. I forget, but 40 Sundays or something like that, and they interview and they document all the things, and Mrs. McCaskey was one of them because she owns a team, and really a classy, cool lady. And so, Bears, for this woman alone, you got to win. At least go to the playoffs next year, okay? So let's get to it. I'm not going to go overboard today because there's just no point. The Bears are 3-13. And Minnesota is 12-4, and that's who we're playing on Sunday in Soldier Field, the last game of the season for the Chicago Bears, unlike Minnesota, who is going to the playoffs. So, the Vikings entered the league. This was interesting. I assumed they were longer in the league than this says, but the Vikings joined the National Football League in 1961 as an expansion team. The first time these two teams met, the Vikings stunned the Bears 37. The Bears, I'm sorry. The Bears beat them pretty good 37-13, and that was in Minnesota. They're both have been teams from the NFC North and had many contests and also some surprising results. The Vikings led the overall series 64 wins to 57 wins to 2 ties. The teams have met in the postseason once, and the Bears won it. It was in 1994. It was a wild card game, and the Bears won it 35-18. But the Vikings still hold the overall league, and I was really kind of surprised. I thought that they were in the league longer, but whatever. So there, we'll see. I'm sure they're going to have the upper hand after this game. All right, this is I only did a few stats. I'm not breaking it down by quarterbacks because there's no point, because Fields isn't even playing. Peterman is. So I wish our backup, Simeon, was in, but he's hurt. He got hurt. We would give us a chance to win. Peterman, oh my God, he is a third string at best quarterback. So the Bears are fucked on Sunday, even though they were fucked going in, but now they're really fucked. So the Bears, I'm just going to go to the team stats. The Bears are dead last in pass and have been the entire season. Now they're only averaging, it went up a little bit and came down, but they've always been in last place. They're only averaging 129 yards a game. And Minnesota is 5th in the league, averaging 258. Yeah. We're in trouble. We are still number 1 in rush. We are rushing an average of 181 yards, and they are 27th in the league with only averaging 95 yards a game. So, but we know Justin is not in. Everybody's pissed because he couldn't break the record, but really, people, he's second, and that's not a record I even care about. I would rather him breaking some next year, some passing records, because he's got a lot of work to do still in that department. So forget about that, 64 yards, but we got to get the rush game going, because that's the only thing that's going to save us, at least not totally embarrass us on Sunday. So hopefully Montgomery and Herbert get going, and we can get that going, but we'll see. Points scored, the Bears are 23rd in the league with scoring an average of 19 a game, and Minnesota is scoring, they're 7th in the league, scoring an average of 24.7 a game. The Bears are 32nd, dead last in giving up the most points. They're giving up an average of 27 points a game. And Minnesota, interestingly enough, of course, it probably had a lot to do with last week's game because they lost 41-17 to Green Bay, those jerks. Minnesota is 31st in allowing points, and they're averaging 25.9. And like I said, I think that last week's game really hurt them. The Bears, I'm going to do a little bit of defense, and that's it for stats. The Bears are dead last in sacks. Not surprising. They have only had 20 sacks. What was the team leading? I mean, it was something like 60 or 70 sacks. I was like, shit. Minnesota is 18th in the league, and they have 37 sacks. So they're not that great either, but they're not dead last. I mean, we're dead last in 3 categories: pass, score, points allowed, and sacks. Yeah. Not good. We have 13 interceptions, and they have 13 interceptions. The Bears have forced 16 fumbles and recovered 8 of them. Minnesota has 12 forced fumbles, and they recovered 10 of them. So that's pretty much even, and obviously the interceptions are even. So with Minnesota in that game last week against Green Bay, I was so pissed. I thought, oh, I was begging for Minnesota to win, and they did the complete opposite. They looked terrible. So I'm telling you right now, they're fighting for the number 2 seed right now on Sunday's game. And even if they weren't, after that terrible 41-17, whatever you want to call it, last Sunday, I'm pretty sure the coach, the Minnesota coach, would have his starter start anyways, because you don't want to. You can't go in the playoffs with 2 losses before the playoffs. So they're playing this week for one reason, to get that 2nd seed, Minnesota, and 2, to teach them a lesson for not getting creamed so much as they did last week, right? So, and Minnesota's going to be pissed off. You know that. They're going to be pissed off in this game because they looked terrible last week, and they had a chance to, sew it up last week and knock Green Bay out of the playoffs, and they did not do that. Jerks. So Minnesota is going to win this game Sunday. We got Peterman starting as our quarterback, and our defensive line is god awful. And something I just realized, I did not even look at the injury report this week, not once. Like I said, up until yesterday, I was so consumed with that young man from the the Bills that I just I couldn't concentrate on anything else. It was just so disturbing. So I didn't really look, so I'm sorry. Here I'm supposed to be this, giving you all the information. Well, not today. Anyways, we're winding it down, right? So, Minnesota's going to win this game. It's at home. It's unfortunate that Justin isn't in it. You'd like to see him, but I understand why the Bears are doing it. He isn't hurt that bad. He could play, but they don't want to take any chances. Minnesota's going to come out. They got to win the game. Why put Justin in that situation? It's just not worth it. You're paying Peterman. You might as well put him out there because he's going to get sacked a lot, I'm sure. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope our defense doesn't look as bad as they did last week against Detroit, because that was fucking embarrassing. The season's almost over, people. And, all season long until December, I was telling everybody we knew this stuff was going to happen. We were going to be up and down, up and down. I thought we were going to have a better record than that. I never thought it was going to be better than 500 or better. I always thought less than 500. But I didn't think it was going to be 3-14. I know it's 3-13 right now, but it's going to be 3-14. So the only good thing is, as we all know, we could get the number 1 draft pick. If not, for sure, we're going to have number 2. So that's a good thing. And it'll be interesting because, there's going to be a lot of scenarios moving, forward after the season's over for the Bears. And what they're going to do in the draft. Everybody's predicting they're going to take this person. Some people are saying they're going to trade that draft pick and go down a little bit and get more draft picks. Because I believe they only have 8 right now, 7 or 8, because they gave away 2 in trades. They gave 1 to Baltimore and they gave 1 to Pittsburgh for Claypool, which let's hope that he shows up next season, right? I mean, the wide receivers, Claypool will be better next year. I just know it. We'll have Mr. Mooney back. We re-signed St. Brown. I think another year under the belt with Justin, St. Brown might step up and do better. As far as that, who knows who's going to be with us next year? Harry, we picked that guy up in the offseason, and he did shit. I mean, shit. We know what the Bears need in the draft. So there's a lot of speculation what they're going to do. They're going to speculate from the end of the season until the end of April, and it's going to change daily. And I don't pay that much attention to it. I will, start looking at it like when we get closer to March, because Monday's going to be my last game. My last show. I'm done. It's just been very hard this last month to be positive and talk about the Bears, like I was earlier in the season, keeping people coming back to the show, keeping people up. But December has not been a kind month to us, as we know. It wasn't a kind month to me either, I'll be honest with you. So You know what? We'll see. We all know what the Bears need in the draft and the free agency. I'll be back once free agency starts, and it's in early March. I'll have that by Monday's show, and I'll come back and talk about free agency and what the Bears are doing. And then when the draft happens, I'll come back and talk about that. So I'll have, after Monday's show, I'll have a couple shows, maybe 2 to 4 shows from March to the draft, and then that'll be it until August when the Bears are back in camp. So it just gives you an idea what's going on. Last few years, I stayed on the air through the playoffs, even though the Bears weren't in it, but I'm not doing that. Sorry, guys. I know you're going to miss this face. I know it. Just calm down, but I'll be back. So, we know our defensive line sucks. They only average 95 yards, I said, a game. That'll probably be doubled after playing the Bears. I have no doubt, okay? The linebackers and our backfield, the backfield particularly on the defense, has really been the rock stars of the defense all season. They've made it so we weren't really beaten in some of these games. They kept the passing down, and they did their job. Now, next year, if the Bears have, which what we're hoping, Poles, this is his second year, and now he knows what he needs. Last year was his first year. He didn't really know. He kind of took it slow, as we all know, and you know what? That was a smart thing to do. He didn't start, he didn't sign people in the offseason until he really knew what he had. Now he knows. So he knows what. If we can get in free agency, I'd be thrilled. A really solid defensive lineman, maybe a pass rusher. But that will probably come in the draft. But if we can get at least one really solid defensive lineman that can stop the run, plug up the hole in free agency, love it. I'd like to get a very good offensive lineman too, who's been in the league. It looks like Poles wants youth, so he's probably going to sign people less than 30 years old. If we could get a solid offensive lineman and then a good wide receiver, one good wide receiver maybe in the free agency. And then you can pick up some other people in free agency, backups. Of course, we need more linebackers. We need backups. We need more, offensive linemen too. But if we can get those 3 in free agency, I'd be really happy. And then you go into the draft and you draft the rest of them. But we need a lot of defense linemen. We need more linebackers in the middle too, because we've had a few step up. Monroe, Sanborn, who unfortunately has been out. He started going and then he got hurt. So the linebackers, we could use some more. But we know we need wide receivers and offensive linemen. So, and I would not be surprised if the Bears did not look for another field goal kicker. I'm not saying that Santos won't be back, but he missed a lot of extra points this year and some field goals that cost us. It really did. So we'll see what happens. So the Bears, I always do the threes. I'm going to do it. Time of penalties, time of possession, and turnovers. If the Bears, even though the Bears aren't going to win it, forget it. I'm not doing the threes. There's no point, right? Nah. So let's see what happens. You know what? The last game for the Bears. I'm looking forward to the playoffs. I'm a football junkie, people. So, last weekend I watched college football like crazy, and then the NFL. It was great. So, tomorrow there's some really good game. Tomorrow and Sunday there's some very good games on in the NFL, because there's still a lot of teams vying for the playoff spot, and I hope and I pray that Detroit beats Green Bay on Sunday and they make it to the playoffs, because I don't dislike Detroit like I do Green Bay. I'm sorry. If you watch my show, I cannot stand Green Bay. And if you're a true Bears fan, you cannot stand Green Bay too. You can't say, I'll watch both and be a fan. True fans of any team in baseball, you can only root for your team. And your rivals have to be your arch enemies. And Green Bay, they are. And Rodgers is an asshole, as we all know, because it's always about him. So Detroit, come on. And it would be nice to see Detroit getting there. They're kind of up on the upswing. Like I said a few shows ago, it'd be really nice next year to see the Bears and Detroit fighting it out at the top of our divisions, wouldn't it? And you can leave Minnesota and Green Bay below us. That would be awesome next year. So, you know what? We were all looking forward to 2022 season. Obviously, it didn't turn out the way we wanted. We know that. But you know what? There was some positives. But Justin has some things to work out in the off season, and the Bears next season have to go, and he has to start passing. I mean, because we know he can run, people, but we've seen some moments of passes that were great. And we're like, okay, so we know he can do it, but he's got to do it in 2023 consistently. He's got to have 300-yard games, maybe even a 400-yard game. Wouldn't that be awesome? So he's got to flip the narrative on the running. Besides, he's got to flip the narrative on the running because he keeps doing this, he's going to be hurt, and he's going to do us no good. He's going to do us no good. And I see people, oh, should the Bears draft another quarterback? No. You know what? No, don't waste a draft pick on another quarterback right now. Not an issue. We need so much more work at defensive line, offensive line, wide receiver. You need to concentrate on that and forget about another quarterback, people, okay? Like I said, right now they don't have a lot of draft picks. I think it's only 7, actually. And so, we do need more. Because say you draft 7, 8, 9 people, half of them could turn out to be pretty decent. Maybe a fourth, really good. So you never know at the draft what you're going to get. Look at this year, what we got. Brisker in the backfield, awesome. Gordon in the backfield, awesome. 2 great draft picks. Sanborn, undrafted pickup, another great one. So those were some really nice. And then what's the other guy on the offensive line? God, it went right out of my head. Blackwell. Is it Blackwell? Blackwell or Blackstone? I can't remember. He is a rookie. And he's played very well too. So, yeah, I'm out of sync. I just am. You'd think I would know what I'm talking about, right? Well, I do, but I can never remember names. You know me. Pickled. So we'll see what happens, right? So probably a lot of people aren't even going to watch the Bears game on Sunday. I do that, but I will probably doing more flipping because there's going to be some good games on. So, and Monday's game, I probably won't be doing a lot of stats because there won't be worth it. We're done. The season over. Excuse me. 2022 obviously wasn't what we wanted, but we're headed in the right direction because I got to tell you, I think Coach Flus is a great coach. He's had these guys playing until last weekend, not so good, but he's had them in because there's been a lot of disappointing losses this year. Several by a couple points, one by 1 point, and they were frustrated, but he kept their heads up high. So you got to give him a lot of credit. And it's a team that's really gelled together. They're very close, and that's important. So Coach Flus, got to give him a lot of credit for this because, the last idiot could have never handled this. We probably would have won any games, and it would have probably been way worse, people, way worse. So 2023, we're in it. Let's hope it's a better year for all of you out there. I hope it's a much better year for you guys. One last thing, though, is, so it's going to be a tough game. Hang in there, Bears fans. I promise you it is going to get better. 2023 definitely looking up, and then we'll have excitement in March, free agency, and then at the end of April, beginning of May is the draft, and we'll get excitement again there, and then we'll report to camp at the end of July, and we'll be right back. And before we know it, it will be that again, and I'll be back on the air. But I do hope it's an awesome 2023 for all of you. I hope you all get exactly what you want. And our Bears at least maybe do a wild card, if not a division win. I'm really going out on a limb here, aren't I? Hey, I have been a Bears fan for 47 years, and every year I say the same thing at the end of the year and the beginning of the year. It's going to get better next year. And then when the beginning of the year comes, it's going to be a good year. I can just tell. I've done it every year. So that is a true fan. And if you're watching this, you're a true fan, and you probably do the same thing, or you know somebody that does the same thing. So 2023 people, it's our year. 2023 is going to be, yes, the Bears. They're coming back. I was trying to think of a rhyme and it didn't work. Could you tell? I was pausing. So, all right, I'm done yapping. I hope you guys, excuse me. I hope you guys, again, 2023, rock and roll. Let's go. And I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. I appreciate you watching me. Pretty much the people left watching are true Bears fans and people that like turning me on. Bump, boom. And I appreciate you watching me all year and even turning me on this when it's this bad, when you're 3 and 13. So you guys rock. And if you know me, my friends and family, well, the family that watches me, I know. I got this pretty big family, and almost none of them watch me. Isn't that terrible? I know. Sucks. F you. I love my family. I'm just kidding. But I love you all. And my point was, if you know me personally, you know I mean what I'm saying. I do love you and appreciate you. And on Monday's show, I think I'm going to be calling out some people that I know that are faithful every week watchers. So thank you. And everybody, I always end the show with be kind, love one another. We're still in tough times, but things are going to get better. I tell you, I talked to my financial guy today, and this guy is smart, and everything he says happens. And he is predicting it's not going to be as bad as everybody thinks it's going to be. So rock and roll, Simon. You rock. Let's hope he's right. And be kind, love one another. Stop hate and smile at one another. Smile at people because it's the best thing you can do, right? It's pure love. And this woman is pure love and pure love for you and for the Bears. This heart is big for both of you guys. Thank you. I'll see you on Monday. Go Bears. And as always, keep on rocking and rolling from Vegas, baby.